Thank you, Toby. Thank you, Chair. I have 3.5 minutes, so I want to give a quick update on Amazon because there's a lot of interest. The mayors and chairs came together, and they said, as the chair of Toronto Global and Janet as our vice chair, to co-lead the bid on behalf of the Toronto region. In terms of what is happening right now, it's quite unique when you compare this to many of the other municipalities in the U.S. side, because we have 3 levels of government backing this and excited. So we have the ability to work with the federal government. And what is the thing the federal government can bring to the table? Immigration, fast-track visas. That is a huge point of differentiation, because at the end of the day, all the feedback from Amazon, this is about talent. This is about talent attraction and talent retention. So the talent attraction is, where do we get people from? So we obviously have an ecosystem here of 400,000 people in the tech sector, and the access to our universities and the AI programs and things like that. But also to fast track, to bring people in from around the world, is a huge strategic advantage for us. So working closely with the federal government on that. Ed Clark was appointed, as you saw from the Premier, to lead their part on the provincial side. We are working hand in hand with Ed on that. That goes really to what is the province thinking about any incentives or their approach to incentives. Because at the end of the day, we strongly feel, and I think the federal government does too, and the provincial government, is we have to stand on our own, as this is a strong place for a company like Amazon to come and work and be a part of it. Listen, Amazon already has 2 million square feet of office, of real estate here. They have almost 1,000 employees here. They know what Toronto and the Toronto region has to offer. So it's very important for us in terms of not setting precedent on a global basis. People will be watching what we're doing and making sure we actually strategically put in the window for what this Toronto regional has to offer. So working closely with Ed Clark on that, and he's spearheading the charge with the Minister of Finance and the various departments within the province. Finally, on the municipal side, we've put our bid team together. Literally, the bid is due October 19th, but we probably have to go to print by October 13th. So we have, 2.5 weeks to get this done. It's like getting an Olympic bid done in the corporate world. And essentially what we are doing is we are working with each of the municipalities that fund us. The economic development officers like Mike Williams and George Bessa are working with developers here on site selections. So each municipality in each region is putting in sites to us. We have an outside independent firm that are vetting those sites based upon the criteria of the RFP. And we are in the process now of penning the bid book based upon the key data. There's about 8 or 9 criteria that Amazon needs in their book. But I think there's some consistent themes that are very important. Richard Florida, who's on our board, and this is, I think, a point of differentiation for us, that themes that we are talking about. Again, this is about people. So what is Canada, what is Ontario, and what is the Toronto region? It's about tech in many ways, our ecosystem, what we have in place, where we're growing, where we're going to. It's about talent, the talent we have here, but also the talent to grow. There's been many feedback about the concern about, our small companies versus Amazon. This is an ecosystem we have to support, but this is also about tolerance. And that's a key point here, that we are different, I think, than any other North American, I won't say North American city, but any other American city. This ability to attract people from around the world who want to work here, because 51% are foreign-born, because 140 languages are spoken here. Those are the type of things that we're going to put in the window to really show Amazon that join the movement, be a part of this. So I want to share that with you.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions for the presenters? Councillor Grimes.
Mark, what are they looking for in a site? Let's talk about the site, the physical site. What are they looking for? I mean,
it's the RFP varies. It is from, it could be 100 acres of open field. It could be urban, it could be suburban. They do have a criteria of trying to get access to about 500,000 square feet right away, so that they can modify that and put their people in that. But Toby, I might want Toby to answer a little bit, because Toby just came back from Seattle, and they have about 13 million square feet of office space in Seattle, and should talk about the way they've morphed and grown there as well.
Yeah, it's very interesting when you see the site, because it's not what you expect. It's not a Microsoft campus. It's not an Apple campus. They have between 30 and 36 buildings in downtown Seattle, none of which are the same design. None of them are logoed. None of them are branded. They grew in a rather sort of hodgepodge kind of way. So you don't know when you go through downtown Seattle whether one building is Amazon. They do have two major buildings. They have grown so exponentially. Now, as Mark is suggesting, they have a very, very urban campus. To call it that is a bit of a stretch. I think it's easier to call it a precinct because they're all around. But they are extremely cost conscious. They really want to know that they can move through planning stages very quickly. They're looking for very close collaboration with the municipalities in which they're located, because they don't think that they are taking care of their employees and then the municipality has to be able to pick up from there in terms of offering amenities. But it's not what you think in terms of the typical Silicon Valley thing. So, but at the same time, the advantage that the Toronto region has is we can turn to Amazon and say, we can meet your needs any way you want. The same thing that's going to be able to be offered anyway, which is Mark is speaking about, is their incredible need for talent. You can find that anywhere in the Toronto region. We'll be able to supply it. One thing just to keep in mind, this is a global headquarters. It's not just tech. It's everything. It's everything from accounting to law to the guy who, you know, when you press Alt-Control-Delete and ask him why it isn't working, that will be here. So it's a very broad-ranging proposal.
Great, thank you.
I think another point that we'd have to be confident about is that I also think at a point we have to also ask Amazon or any future company, what will they do for us? You know, what will they do for improving our city and our region? And I think that should be part of our dialogue with them as well.
Thank you, because that was my first question. So you give me an answer. And so adding to my question, I mean, so the elephant in the economy is Donald Trump as it relates to this particular issue. He has been on record, has also stated that he is going to increase the tariffs and duties on companies or American companies that are going elsewhere. I'm just wondering, in this big picture, in this crazy old world and crazy economy that we exercise our attention in, why would Amazon want to move anywhere other than the United States, given a Trump environment?
Yeah, that's a tough
Because
question.
I think that's a question that I would hope that you'd be asking yourselves.
Yeah, of course, and the question that, you know, Amazon is asking themselves too. I mean, Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. You know, I think he is on the other side of the political fence as relates to the current president.
Yes.
And he's a disruptor
Yes.
as well. So I think we have to look at this as it is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to shine. Again, if it doesn't happen, it is an opportunity for us to turn to the next company, to Alibaba, to all the different businesses that are out there on different scales as well, to present, to put our best foot forward. So I can't answer the question is, will there be there will be political pressure to stay, but at the same time, Jeff Bezos is his own character.
Sure.
And will he do that? That'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Go ahead, Janet.
Just, Councillor, just to add to that, I mean, in some ways, this is very similar to the pitch that we did for HSBC's headquarters when they were looking at moving their global headquarters out of the UK. I mean, everybody knew the odds were pretty astronomical, one, that it would move at all, or two, that it would come to Toronto. But out of that, we got, I think, three very important things. HSBC got to see a value proposition here that they hadn't looked at before, which is actually supporting more growth here than might have happened normally. We didn't get the headquarters. We are getting legitimate, good, I'll call it consolation prize.
Right.
Secondly, it is putting us on the map, as Mark has quite rightly said, very, very nicely. And thirdly, what it is also proving, I think, is the wisdom of the thinking that went into creating a region-wide entity that can actually step up Toronto Region's game. So it's good for, I shouldn't say good for practice, but in a way it is, right? I mean, so we're doing it, it's working, is working better than what it did with HSBC. And so I think that's an important skill set that we're exercising here on behalf of the region as well.
Lots of practice, I get that.
Yeah.
So when you look at incentives that are offered by state and municipalities in the United States, and you look at our incentives or lack thereof, my question is, at this time, and I've read the RFP, I've seen it, but I didn't see anything in there that said there's a requirement for specific incentives. I may not have read that, but is there from the discussion, Toby, you've gone out to Seattle to meet with them, the discussions that you've had, is there an impression that there's a requirement for much government incentive as an inducement for them to come to Toronto or any other place in Canada?
Why don't I give a high level on that, and Toby can answer as well. So yes, in the RFP, they do talk about incentives, what type of things that governments can add to this, and a very collaborative approach with municipalities on that. I think, and Ed Clark is leading the charge on that as relates to the...
Who's a Scarborough guy, by the way.
Oh, good, good.
Add that.
And very efficient in getting things done. And so, but again, I want to go back to, I think we have to be very cognizant of this, that, you know, this will get out in front of the media, regardless, you know, whether it's leaked or whether Amazon puts it out there, or someone within the organization will get access to what we're putting forward. And I think we have to be very conscious of putting the best foot forward of what this region has to offer, and maybe here are some buckets of things we should do. What are things that are incremental that will fast track the development of this region for all of our people?
Right.
You know, so if it is a specific site, how is it going to help in fast tracking transportation? You know, if it is about talent, can more money be put into programs to have more STEM graduates in our universities? So I think there are things that we have to be conscious of that not just helps Amazon, but helps the broader community.
Right. Thank you.
And sorry, if I could just quickly, Amazon is not a company that needs cash. So, so what we should be talking about and what we are talking about are those supports. Amazon is looking for a relationship and for a sense of trust between them and their municipalities. And the key thing here is that supply of talent. They do not have that supply of talent given current demographics in the United States. So therefore, the question that they're going to have to ask is, how much money do we need in order to compensate for talent? That's a very difficult one to answer. But I think the approach that we're talking about is one that will meet with interest, but don't underestimate how much money will be put on the table in front of Amazon from other jurisdictions.
Right. Okay, thank you very much. To speak, Councillor Grimes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and this is great, and I'm keep my fingers crossed, I don't know, but I think this is a great exercise. But getting back to the incentives, I know some of the states in the deep south, and they're offering free land, but I do agree. I think this is very small potatoes to Amazon. I think the things we're going to have to offer is the talent pool here, the most multicultural city in the world, helping with immigration, people coming and the planning process. I think that really have to offer is the talent pool we have in the city. So I think that building out or TIGs would be very small to them, but I do think this is a great exercise. And Mark's a sports guy like me. We've talked about this before, but looking back post Pan Am Games, I always thought it'd be great to work with the region to say, at Hamilton, how many does your stadium hold? What are all the infrastructure we have to host these major sporting events? We had that. We really don't have that. So when somebody does come forward, we know what's in the region. This would hold this would hold that. Rico holds this. There can't hold this. So. That's my sports now, Jonathan. I mean, having this is a great exercise. Even if we weren't successful at Amazon, I think with all the media play we're going to get on it, some other comes, hey, listen, I just saw this come out from Toronto's bid. Hey, this is something down the road that even if we aren't successful at Amazon, which I hope we are, it would be a great exercise to go through. So I applaud you and got a lot of faith in you, Mark. So listen, go bring her home and bring her over the goal line, so to speak. So thank you very much.
Just one comment. We have been working with the University of Toronto on a research study that looks at what is the impact of an investment by a foreign company in a certain part of the region, and what's the knock-on effect across the region. So I think what has been really encouraging in this whole exercise has been the thought process. It's not just about where the site is. It really is that knock-on impact of people will be traveling on Metrolinx. People will be traveling from Brampton and Durham or whatever location to get there. So it was very interesting, the presentations we'd have seen from the airport and then from the trade. All these things play into our pitch. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Kelly, speak.
Chair, I think what has to be an integral part of the presentation is the lifestyle of the city. I remember talking to a family a year or so ago who were relocating from the United Kingdom, and the family The kids were teenagers. Toured Montreal, Toronto, San Francisco, and I think maybe a number of other cities. And to make the decision about where the family would